Mike, hello, sir.
Good morning, Fred, Hardy, John. How we doing?
We are doing fantastic and just enjoying the afterglow of what a tremendous game that was we witnessed yesterday. It had to be. Zolak called it the worst loss since Brady. I don't know how you'd quantify that, but in terms of play, was this one of the worst games you've seen from a football standpoint from both teams?
That was a lot of bad football, Fred. I was thinking back. It almost brought me back to the early 90s, thinking that I was brought back into that time when they actually played good defense, I thought, but the offense was so inept. That was tough to watch.
Okay, so they kind of abandoned the run a little bit yesterday. Do you? First of all, I'll ask you this: Does Mayo see? Do you think Mayo has much involvement in the offense?
Do I think he has much involvement in the offense? Let's see. Going back to preseason and training camp, he talked about how he basically, he's oversees it, but he defers to the head coach of the offense, Alex Van Pelt. So, do I think he has much involvement? I don't think he's calling the plays, but I think he can overrule it or tell Alex Van Pelt, hey, we need to run it here. I hope he's doing that, Fred. I don't know if he is, and if he isn't, he better start because they can't keep managing the games like they are at the end of the second quarter. They made the same mistake this game that they did in week 2 against Seattle.
Okay, because when you look at it, they had some success running the ball, but they kind of abandoned it. And I'm sure Van Pelt would tell you, well, that's how the defense set up. They were set up to stop the run. But I would counter, well, you can't throw. So what the hell difference does it make? Their two longest plays outside of the garbage Hunter Henry play were runs. That's what. So what did you think of the play calling yourself?
So there's a couple things, Fred. So when you talk about abandoning the run, I 100% agree at the end of the second quarter. They have the ball at their own 5-yard line with 1:50 until halftime, and the Dolphins have 3 timeouts left. They run on first down for 8 yards. It's 2nd and 2. And then they passed it twice. Didn't make Miami use a timeout. 2 incomplete passes, have to punt it away to them. They got lucky, Fred, that Miami had the bad snap on the field goal. But the residual of that, the defense had to come back out on the field, and we saw how they were tired at the end of the game. So I would use, to me, that's the point I would use on abandoning the run. Otherwise, I went back, maybe the first down play right prior to the play where of the reverse touchdown, maybe you run there. Otherwise, I don't.
What about the turnover in the red zone? What about their red zone offense? When they got the turnover, when they blocked the kick.
Oh, and that play. Let's go back and look at it. I haven't gone through the game.
Oh,
yet.
baby, that's what we're doing right now. We're gonna cook through this log.
Let's go.
Believe it.
Let's go.
Let's knock out.
Everyone, get your notes out.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. So they blocked the second quarter. They blocked the field goal, Fred, and then they had they had a holding penalty on Ramondre Stevenson on 2nd down to make it 2nd and 17. So 2nd and 17, that's you got to throw, right? And that's when he found Pop over the middle to reset the downs. 1st and 10, and they did try to run on first down. Then they get another holding penalty on Nick Leverett. So they're 1st and 19. Got to throw, right? 2nd and 12. So honestly, Fred, on that one, I felt like the holding penalties on set him back and made him have to pass.
Well, they did run on 3rd and 15.
Anytime you're 3rd and greater than 10, it's a give up. That's part of the problem with this offense.
And then it was a dump pass to Brissett or to Stevenson. So I guess you're right. Maybe I'm splitting hairs. I remember it wrong.
No, but I think, Fred, the deeper discussion is like, where were the play action passes? Were they there, right? And when I go back through this, That's what I want to look at, because to me, their passing game, the best thing they have going is marrying it to the running game, which, to your point, was working pretty well yesterday. And I don't recall seeing too many of those live, but I wanted to go back and confirm that watching it over again.
So Fred made a point earlier in the show, Mike, that the Patriots use their training camp to go out and try and win the first game or two, where other teams that think they're actually going to have a season are going out and trying to prepare for the entirety of the season, maybe even thinking about the playoffs, thinking about long-term health and well-being. Do you agree with that notion, and what do you make of that strategy, if that's in fact what you think the Patriots were doing?
So here's the way I look at it, Hardy. I think they got to tighten this thing up, and I think it's more about coaching. Start with that. 12 penalties for 104 yards. One of those penalties was 12 men on the field on a punt return.
Yep.
When Joshua Uche is trying to run off the field, and I don't know why no one saw that and tried to call a timeout, knowing that it's 4th and 1, and a penalty means the Dolphins are keeping the ball. Who is watching this? Where is the breakdown? Tighten it up. So I think it's more about, to me, that, or it's a horse collar tackle, and then roughing the passer. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Keon White headbutts a quarterback on an incompletion on 3rd down to keep a very important drive alive. And there's one thing about not getting off the field, but players that they're depending on to make plays are making terrible mistakes. And I don't know. These guys who are coaching them have been there before, have been in the league before. It's not the first time they've ever watched football. How do you explain this?
Well, so, John, I don't know how to explain it other than to say that Keon White came out for one play after the roughing the passer and then was back on the field. My question is, do you need to start taking him off the field to make your point? Because what is happening right now is not getting through. And I don't, maybe it's a little harsh because those are 2 plays in whatever he played, 60 plays, and I'm sure he made other plays, but those are the ones that stand out to me when I look at the big picture. What is going wrong here? And I'm balancing it with the fact that they were still a few inches away from possibly winning the game, right? But I can't imagine that even if they won, that they would have felt good coming back in there with the way they played, more offensively. And I thought special teams, some good, some bad. They just got to tighten it up.
Okay, Wallach and I both have a follow-up. You judge which one is better.
No.
Hardy
got really angry that I was going to ask something. So
because
Hardy,
your follow-ups are often not follow-ups. Mine is an actual follow-up,
go
Mike.
right ahead,
Because
Hardy.
we're talking about Keon White. We're talking about the defense. Last week, there's a mutiny. No, there's no mutiny. There's no. If there is anything close to it, it's got to be coming from the defense first. And whether you see it manifest in ways like personal fouls or dumb plays that extend drives. If anybody is tapping out on this and any part of the locker room is being lost, it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball.
I haven't seen that myself. I will say that, but I agree. I thought the defense deserved better yesterday. Sort of hung out to dry, in my opinion. Look at the time of possession. They were on the field for 34 minutes and 20 seconds. Patriots could only possess the ball 25 minutes, 40 seconds. And I think it leads to probably the big discussion here is what are they thinking at quarterback, guys?
Okay.
I felt like the first 2 or 3 weeks that there was so much happening around the quarterback on offense that wasn't good, that Jacoby Brissett did, in my opinion, an admirable job keeping them afloat in less than ideal circumstances. I felt like this game and maybe a little bit last game, you start asking yourself, do they need the quarterback to elevate what's happening around them more? And so I have to imagine the coaches are watching the game over and having a long conversation about that, especially because Gerard Mayo even said the game they won, it's unsustainable to expect to win games when you're only scoring 16 points. They're averaging 12.3 or 12.4 points per game. Just can't keep going this way.
Right. Yeah, but I will say this is that regardless of what they want to do at quarterback, you didn't want to play Drake May. I don't understand. I'm going to stick with this all season. Why they don't have a veteran backup? If Brissett's struggling and it's going to cost the locker room, which is what everyone's alleging, then if that's the big decision and they don't want to play May, and May's an injury away anyway, why the hell don't they have a backup quarterback to put in? Why that doesn't make any logical sense to me. I'm telling you right now.
Okay. So, all right, Fred, let me see. There's a little bit to unpack here. Just on the locker room, I want to say I think there's a lot of admiration for Jacoby in the locker room.
Great.
One, because of the person he is, and two, because of the beating he's taken for the team. So I just want to start with that. And I think the premise that they don't want to play Drake is probably where I would push back on what you said, if I heard it right, Fred, which I think they're fine playing him because they don't have a veteran backup.
I know, but it doesn't make any sense. You understand? I might be crazy, but like logically, that just doesn't make sense. Like we're not going to start Drake May. Why? Because he's not ready. Okay, well then, what are you going to do if Brissett gets hurt or doesn't play well? We'll play Drake May. Like, so you're almost taking the situation out of your own hands. You're not controlling the environment. Why do they like joint practices? Because it's a controlled environment. You would think that you would want Drake May to play after a week of preparation, 2 weeks of preparation, getting him up to speed, putting him in the best position to succeed. But they're going to just leave it up to the starting quarterback getting injured and tossing him into a game? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you don't want to, they obviously don't feel comfortable starting him or haven't this season. I don't understand why they didn't have a veteran backup. So if Brissett and I like that you say that you're seeing that the locker rooms that has faith in everyone and da. But other people have been speculating, not saying it's happening, but speculating that they got to play May because if they see that May is the better quarterback and he's not playing because they're afraid they're going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt. They're saying, well, why am I out there going to play and getting hurt? I've heard that by like 18 analysts. So you understand what I'm saying?
I do. And I think where I think I look at it different, I don't think they're not playing him because they're afraid he'll get hurt.
No, I know, because they don't think he's ready or it's the right situation.
More that. I don't think it's that they don't think he's ready 100%. It's that we just saw what happened with Mac Jones. Like, I think that's what it is, Fred. We've had 5 different offensive line combinations in the first 5 games. Receivers were trying to figure it out, like who's getting open. And I think they feel like they're getting closer to having those, and it's not great, but that they feel like they're getting closer to having some answers that are suitable enough to now elevate the conversation for Drake to say he was 1 snap away in week 1. And we think if he had to play, we were fine with that. We don't want it, but we would be fine with it. Now, I feel like we're in the target zone.
Okay, well, if they feel after yesterday that they're closer to him playing, I mean that they've figured out something. I'd like to know what it is.
Make sure May's able to handle it.
And I know you talk to people in the building, and that's what you're saying. But I mean, yeah,
it's a little bit of that, Fred. But I want to give a couple specific examples. I don't want to go overboard here on the time, but like moving Mike Onwenu back to right guard. I felt, and I want to see if this is true, I felt like Jacoby had a little more time on a consistent basis, protection-wise. They did have some holding penalties. Receiver, Jalen Polk, clearly elevating to a starter role. Keyshawn Boutte knocking out Tyquan Thornton. I think we'll see that continue. Kendrick Bourne getting back in there. So that, to me, you start to see some pieces moving around that they can move forward with. And I think that's, I'm not saying it's great, but I feel like that's the point that I would make as it relates to the situation settling a little bit where you can now move forward if you want to go with Drake.
All right. Well, thank you for staying on with us late. I'm going to get in trouble from Rick for being very,
Sorry,
very late to the
my
break.
fault.
No, it's not. It's
Blame it on me.
completely my fault. And really John's for
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.